That's my dog. This is Bear. You're distracting me. So essentially what is happening is we're painting a tabby cat. You've already seen the thumbnail. You already know what it looks like, but I'm going to show you how to do it. Obviously it's not realism, so call it what you will. My friends said that it was like bordering realism. I don't really see it that way, but that's how they said it, so I'm taking that for what it is. So this is the sister portrait to the black cat that I did in another video. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will link it down below so you can check it out. You don't have to. Unless. Now, in the last video, I was extremely long-winded in the beginning, and I'm not doing that this time. There was a lot of talking that was frankly unnecessary. I was just kind of nervous and talking way too much like I am right now. I'm talking really fast. So honestly, we're just gonna get into it.
So I didn't essentially have a plan going into this because the way that I painted the cat digitally was a lot different from how I was going to be painting it physically. And if I'm being honest, I feel like the way I did it digitally, I was really winging that. So naturally, I had to go and look at some reference. Folks, let me introduce you to Nebula. She is my tabby cat, so she was perfect for this, and she is 5 years old, and she was extremely confused as to why her mom was flashing a flashlight in her face while recording. But I did learn a lot from her, unironically. I just did this just now, and this is a lot closer to what I need to do in order to properly do this painting, and that is what I did a few days ago.
Okay, so now that I'm done with the sketch, I meant to film myself doing it, and unfortunately I could not do that because I was having a lot of issues with it. Okay, I lied. I'm a liar. So, come here. This right here needs to be over by like 2 centimeters. It needs to be over just a little bit because right now it is off center and it looks goofy. So I'm gonna do that first. You probably won't see that. When you come back, it'll be fixed. Okay, we're back. And like I said, it is over to the side now, and I think it looks less goofy. So we're gonna go ahead and get started.
So, welcome to the easiest part of the painting. I really enjoy working with these bright, vivid colors just because the subject matter is always going to be a bit more neutral, just because animals are natural colors. So adding these bright vivids around them is always a lot of fun. Since the cat portraits, I've done about 8 to 10 more animal portraits. Like I said, I'm not very good with uploading. I do get all of my paintings out relatively quickly though, so I'm giving myself a bit of grace with that. You know, this video isn't being edited at the end of the year when the paintings were done back in July or anything like that. Like, it's fine. The clouds and the collar on this cat were the easiest part, including the glasses as well, they were the easiest part of the entire portrait, if you could guess. I sometimes have issues with making the clouds look fluffy as well. I was a little stressed out about that, but not nearly as much as, you know, everything else that was going to be happening later on. I have this issue with, instead of making the clouds look fluffy, sometimes they end up looking more like wet cotton. However, everything was going according to plan. I was really excited to finish the portrait as the clouds started to look more and more fluffy. Like I said, this commission was the first animal commission that I had done, aside from the black cat, and that in itself was very scary, but also extremely exciting. I won't talk about it too much, but the commissioner actually works for one of my favorite artists, so I felt like I really needed to bring my A game because they had already seen one of my other portraits. Okay, so it is now 2 weeks after starting the 𝚃𝙸𝙼𝙼 portrait, and I am just now getting back to it. On the 2nd, I went to a Blink-182 show, and I accidentally caught COVID while I was there. So, I had to take all of last week to recuperate and recover, and I'm finally able to get up and move around, so we're just gonna go ahead and get right back into it. I lost all my momentum with this painting, but there's no better way to just go ahead and start back up again. So while I was sick with COVID, I didn't want to be anywhere near this painting. I don't know how long germs stay on inanimate objects, and I didn't want to take the risk whatsoever. I will be damned before I get commissioners sick like that. So I decided to put these paintings, I didn't put them personally, my fiance helped me. He took them into a completely different room. I didn't even look at them until I was healthy again, and I contacted the commissioner and they said it was totally fine for me to take time off because I was still a month and a half ahead of schedule, and I had these shipped to them a month ahead of schedule. So it was annoying that I got sick, but it didn't really interrupt too much. Not to rant, but also to rant just for a tiny little, little itty bitty second. I thought I was being so careful at that show. I was making sure to stay away from people as much as I possibly could, and we paid a lot of money, too much money, for our tickets, so we didn't have anyone directly in front of us when we were on the floor, and I was washing my hands constantly, but alas, that still wasn't enough. I was really upset about it because I hate being sick, especially when I have something going on, and like I said, I lost my momentum, and it just, man, what a bummer, you know? Nonetheless, I was back on the move pretty quickly when it comes to this painting, so I just want to say I love the pink and orange on the background. Like, the two cats were meant to have completely different vibes while still be matching, and although I am really happy with how the black cat turned out and the blue looked so great with the black cat, it was really nice to not touch blue for this entire painting, and it was just so nice to work with these warm colors, and it just had this whole aesthetic going, and I was loving every single second of it because I don't typically use pink and orange in anything that I do. I usually drift to more cooler tones, so this was a nice change of pace, and I loved every second of it. Also, if you have not seen the black cat portrait video that I did, or if you're just interested in how I went about tackling a black cat and the method that I used and all that good stuff, I will link the video down below so that you could possibly maybe check it out. I don't know. I know I said that at the beginning, but just throwing it in there. Liking and subscribing would be cool too. So as you can see, I'm currently blocking in colors because I really didn't know how to go about painting this fur, and it actually had me so tweaked out. There's really no other better way to say it. I was just really stressed out about it, so I decided to move to the collar charm just to give myself some time to buffer mentally, and also the collar charm was a lot of fun to work on as well. I keep making jokes that if painting animals doesn't do well for me, I'm gonna move to painting food because it's actually unrealistic how much fun I had painting this food. I don't know if it was just because I was kind of stressed out from the fur or what, but when it came to working on the burger in the last video and then working on the pizza in this video, I was just sitting there with my little tiny brush and, you know, doing these strokes, and I was just kind of humming to myself the entire time. It was a break that I needed. Also, as to what is coming up next, I messed up on something, and I will let the past version of me take over now.
Okay, so I'm really mad right now. I have done all of this, and I didn't realize it wasn't recording, so this little section, I'm actually really happy with how this is coming out, but you didn't get to see any of it. So, yeah. Note to self, make sure that everything is recording while working. So let's get back into it, even though I've been in it, you just haven't seen it. Also, my cat is hanging out with me right now. So, yeah.
So, while you could not see me, I was working on this fur, and working on it was a lot of layering. Also, a lot of blocking out areas where Pizza's markings were. See, a solid black cat was way easier than Pizza, because as long as I stuck to the correct head shape and all of the correct features, I was going to be totally fine. He was going to look the way that I was wanting. But with a tabby cat, if I were to change the shape of one of the black markings or accidentally move them over farther on her head than than it actually was, then suddenly we have a completely different cat. Now, I have no idea if other pet owners are like this or not, but I get very much in the face of my animals. I like to snuggle them, I like to cuddle them, I like to squish their faces and whatnot, so I would definitely notice if the markings were off. I have no idea if my commissioners would, but with how much they love their cats, I'm going to go ahead and say that they would probably definitely know. I have to say though, I was having a blast once I had gotten a method down, and that method essentially was blocking in the dark colors, going in, putting the markings down as well, and then layering on some midtones and then highlighting off from there. Then after that, I would go in, if there was a bit of dark speckled in there, I would go ahead and speckle in a bit of darker colors as well. I know this is a lot, and I'm trying so hard to describe my process because holy crap. I was all over the place with this cat. I cannot stress that enough. Another issue that I ran into that I didn't even think about at the beginning was showing dimension and showing that the front of the head is more important than the sides of her head. And to combat that, I decided to add a bit more highlights towards her forehead, towards her nose, and towards her muzzle than I was doing on the sides of the head. I left the sides of the head a bit darker, and I was worried that it didn't translate very well, but later on, after I added the actual metal from the glasses, that helped exponentially, because I was able to add some decent shadows and highlights on the metal of the frames, and I feel like that really did some legwork for what I was trying to get across, and I know some other people might not even have any idea what I'm talking about because it probably looks fine. It's just I was working on this like non-stop, and I was staring at it for hours a day, and I don't know if I mentioned this in my last video, but when I work on these portraits, I hang them up in my house while I am, you know, not working on them. So I will walk around the house and I'll come into my room and I'll see the portrait and I will think like, would I be happy if I saw that every day? Or would there be something in particular that is bugging me about this portrait? Does that make me a little crazy, or does it drive me a little crazy? A little bit. But I feel like it's for the greater good. Okay, so I was recording, but I ran into the issue again that it stopped recording, so I did the glasses and I got that part done. So now we're gonna move on to the eyes. I feel like after working on the fur and having to be super precise with the markings, blocking in these general shapes for the lenses was incredibly satisfying. It was just kind of like a because the frames were going to have to be a bit more precise as well because of the metal, and by the way, I think I will always struggle with metal, but the lenses themselves, I could kind of leave that up to interpretation. But just adding this little feature onto this cat was just so much fun, and I really enjoyed it because I actually haven't had anyone ask for glasses on their animals since I worked on these. And I gotta be honest, I kind of miss it. But also, I'm not able to make small lines very well with a paintbrush, like at base lines. So I went ahead and went over it with a gel pen, and then whatever my gel pen skipped, because they do that, I went over those skipped areas with a thin brush. The paintings are done, so now we have to make sure that they stay in pristine condition. So I got this, it's, you know, a clear sealant. I've never used it before, so we're gonna see how this goes. I'm a little nervous about it, if I'm being honest, but I gotta make sure there's nothing on the canvas, and then I'm gonna go ahead and spray it down. I'm really hoping I don't ruin this, because I swear I have been working on this for a month. I've been working on these cat portraits for a month. So, let's hope this goes good. So Silly Me forgot to record an outro, so now you have the editing version of me coming in to say thank you for watching if you are all the way here at the end with me, and if you think about it, maybe like, maybe subscribe, that would be kind of cool. But let's go ahead and look at the final shots, and I will hopefully see you in the next.
They were commissioned by the same person, so... Bear. No. Shh. It is... Okay, hold on. I need to start from the beginning.